Sudama was a school friend of Lord Krishna. So, Sudama, it so happened, one spade, Krishna became the prince, you see, and lived in a palace. And Sudama, the school friend, very fast friends, and poor fellow hadn't even a hut to live in. And for a wife, he had a shrew. Yeah. Every time nagging, you see, he would all the time think of what do you call Lord Krishna. What's the matter? Every time I say shrew, you laugh, Dara.
It's on tape.
Because he's a happily married guy. He's just laughing like, I'm glad I don't have this.
Oh, that's all right. So, yeah, so he would all the time remember his Lord and says, oh, those old days, the golden days when I was with... He had heard that now his school friend is the Lord of the universe. Yeah, he'd never realized that. We played and we fought and we fought and I sat on his chest and he sat on my chest and we used to run about and all that. And oh, the glorious days when we never knew one another, you see, how beautiful it was. But now that he is the Lord and I am here, so his wife would all the time hear this and instead of feeling comforted, she would get exasperated. He says, if your friend is such a Lord of the universe, why the hell don't you go out and tell him of your condition? That we don't have food now for past 7 days here in the house. Why don't you go there? Why don't you go there? And he says, no. He knows, if he is the Lord of the universe, he knows the plight of even an ant. Why should I bother him for this? And no, I won't go. Eventually she insisted and she actually drove him out of the house. Go to your friend and tell him how we are living. So he says, but if I go, it is customary, faith in India or amongst Indians here, though, that whenever you go to somebody who is venerable, you don't go empty-handed. You take some present. Here in our life, worldly life also, who is very dear to you, or who is close to you, and you are going after many, many years, you see. So you take something. But what could he have? Something to take, you see. He had nothing to take. Or except some parched rice. You know, we call paua. Parched rice. It is parched rice. Do you all have parched rice there?
Like puffed rice?
No, yeah, you may call it that, but it's not puffed. It's rice that is dried, you see. Yeah, parched rice. Yeah. So he didn't have that. So he had that. Only that much. They used to eat that and remain. So he took a little bundle from his dhoti and tied a bundle there and he carried it. He said, I will offer this to him. So he went on foot. He had to go all the distance. It took most probably, 20 days, 10 days, 15 days, some distance. He went at last. The palace was so big and all that, and watch keepers were there. They stopped him. Who are you? So they said that, well, I am a poor man. I want to have an audience with the Lord. He says, well, you go away from here. When he gives audience, then you come, not now and all that. But tell him, go and tell him, report to him that his old days school friend has come. Tell him that. At least he will hear that and come, he will give special audience. But he himself heard it from inside. You know, as I told you, Indians have a habit of talking loud. So he overheard Lord Krishna. He immediately came out running, recognizing him. He says, Sudam, you have come? He says, yes, my Lord. He falls prostrate at his feet. He lifts him up and all that and takes him inside and introduces him to the people there inside the palace and all that. He's my school friend and takes him back and so forth and so on. He says, have you brought anything for me, Sudam? So he says, I'm ashamed even to tell you that I have brought anything for you. I have nothing. You have nothing to bring for me? He says, this little thing, whatever I had, I have brought it. So he says, open it, and he is so anxious to see what that gift is, and then he saw it and he made such a big fuss about it, you see, that as if there is nothing in the world so precious and so delicious and So, and he relished it with such relish, that Sudam began to cry. You see. So he ate it. Yeah. And says, I feel so appeased now, because all that is filled with your love in it. And only love counts more than any of the things. You could have brought the best of sweets in the world, but that wouldn't have tasted as sweet as it is, because it is filled with your love for me. And so forth, so on. That's an example. And when he returned, mind you, naturally after long days of hospitality, Krishna forced him to overstay and still overstay and all that. He says, my wife will be waiting, I don't know what to do. And he had no heart to tell Lord Krishna why he had come. He couldn't speak out. That is, he's in a state where he's totally destitute. So eventually Lord Krishna gives him a send-off, he comes out and all that. He goes. And while he's going, he says, how will I face my wife? I don't know what is going to happen, but whatever it is. How nice it would have been had she come. She would have at least known who my friend is. So with such thoughts he's going, he's approaching. He enters his village. He knew his village, he enters the village. And he says, is this my village? What is this palace-like thing here? No, it cannot be my village. So he asked some farmers there, says, is this the village? He says, Sudam, what has happened to you? He says, but what is this building that is there? What is that building? That's your palace. What? My palace? Since when I got the palace? He says, workers were working, you see, like horses over there, and they have created this for you. What? Is that my place to live? He says, yeah, it is for you. We have been hearing that it is a palace. You got it constructed. And he goes inside and sees all that. And he left the place. Of what avail to live in the palace? Palace is for the asking, Lord is not for the asking. Yeah. So he quit it. So that's the story of Sudam.
What about the shrew?
The shrew was very happy to live in the palace. The shrew liked her. She became the queen of the palace.
Did you know a shrew is also a little tiny
Yeah, mouse. Yeah,
Tiny mouse, they're huge.
with a big
What was the name of it?
snout.
I know we caught. Don't talk to me about shrews. I'm infested with shrews. I've got more shrews in my house than you've ever seen.
So sorry, Jenny.
Ted catches them and takes them up to the health centre, and then they come running back.
But do you know what shrew is amongst Indian tradition? Whosoever has a shrew in the house is considered to be most wealthy.
What?
Most wealthy.
Wealthy.
Yeah.
Last shrews, I made a mistake of it.
You all have no idea how wealthy you people are, Yeah.
What about Dr. Gunny's wife?
What about it?
Well, I didn't know, isn't Gunny kind of Sudam's equivalent?
Yeah. Sudam was quite different. Yeah, Gunny is there. Gunny was intelligent, but Sudam hadn't that intelligence also.
Gunny had the intelligence of leadership.
But there is a beautiful story. Where has she gone?
Oh,
She
Judy?
started, she wanted
Judy's
to...
right there.
Judy. There is another story of Lord Krishna. By the name Vidur, there was another person. Vidur, in the life of Lord Krishna. Vidur. He was a lover of Lord Krishna, but was under the what is the right word? Tutelage, under the sway of another king. The camp of the adversaries of Pandavas. Of the adversaries, in the camp of the adversaries, means those who detested and despised Lord Krishna and all that. But he
worked for them, or
he worked for them, he was there, but as an ordinary worker and all that. But he was very, not intelligent, yeah, intelligent, very intelligent in the sense that wise. He was wise person. Without being wise, how would he recognize the Lord? He must be wise then. But that wisdom was there also, apart from being wise enough to recognize him. There is the wisdom because recognition comes by his grace only. But he had that wisdom to realize that the recognition is there. So he held a post over there, but he was very poor, lowly post was there. So whenever, naturally, he being a great one, Lord Krishna, the adversary, the king of the adversaries, Duryodhana and all those people, when he would go there. Have you heard of Duryodhana? Yeah. That means he was the king of the time. In contrast with the Pandavas, Yudhishthir and Arjuna and all that, they had their kingdom. And they had the king. They had the kingdom in Delhi, and they had another kingdom nearby. So whenever he would be invited, Krishna would be invited to the palace of Duryodhana, he would go. He'd go there. But he would feel at home with, what was the name I said? No, not that. Vidur, yeah. So then people would come and say that feast is spread for you, and we are waiting, the royal feast is there and all that, and you come there, you are the guest there and honored guest of ours. You would send out messengers to invite Lord Krishna there. You would come to Vidur's house for rest and all, for food and all that. He said, why don't you come there? He says, Vidur's spinach is the best of the royal feasts than all that is spread on the royal table there, dining table. He said that. And he would always eat with Vidur. He never ate there. Vidurni bhaji, spinach. And what about the shining example? Yeah, one day, I forget that also. And then what happened one day, after the battle was fought and all that was there, and all that differences and all the feelings that crossed one camp and another camp and all that was over, Krishna goes to that side, the camp of the adversaries there, and again he goes to Vidur's house. But after many years he goes there. And Vidur is so overpowered with the sight of the Lord that has come now. He loses all his bearings, you see. And he asks his wife, is there something best to be given, to be offered to the Lord? And sure enough, she has got some, a bunch of bananas, what do you call them, fingers of bananas, or what do you call them? Hand of bananas she brought. And so Vidur is being overpowered. He just peels bananas and gives, you see, the peels to the Lord and throws this, and he goes on and Lord eats all that. It is mentioned that here also. Yeah. Overpowered by love, even the peels taste delicious than the fruit itself. Yeah. That's Vidur. And then there's another story of Lord Ram is there, that he goes in his exile, and you have heard the name of Shibri. Her name is always sung, included in the, while glorifying the advent of Lord Ram. Have you heard there is Ram? Have you heard the name of Ram? Yeah, so when Ram went out in exile, and there was one woman who was living in the forest area, a very lowly person, who just lived only on fruits and roots and all that. Bhilni, as they are called, Bhils, the forest residents, you see. So she had the recognition of the Lord, and she was so overjoyed that he had undertaken this, what they call exile, so that at least there is some hope for her to see him face to face in physical form. Because naturally in exile he will be wandering from place to place. So she had a lurking hope that he will come one day. So in expectation of his visitation there, she would every day go out in search of the best of the fruits in the forest, and she'll keep a store of it, and she'll taste whether the fruit is sour or sweet. Sour, then she'll eat it. Sweet, yeah, she'll keep it back. And like that, every little fruit had a little, what do you call it? Not a bite, but just that little
Dent.
peck. Yeah, I did, and keep it there. So, years after years she would do. He was in exile for 12 years. And every year after year she did that. And sure enough, one day he did come. And she was so overjoyed. Fresh sweet fruits were offered to him. But never, it's traditional that never offer your Lord anything that you have already tasted. We never never offer a flower that you have taken the scent of it. You don't smell a rose and give to the Lord. Never. You never do it. Yeah. So how is it possible for anybody to taste the fruit and give to the Lord? But the Lord ate it with great relish, knowing fully well that this was for what? To find whether it is sweet or sour. She didn't have any knife or anything of the sort. Yeah. And so her name has been immortalized. In any song of Ram, Shibri is there. Her love, Shibri. Yeah. The forest woman. Who anticipated the visit of the Lord, and he did visit and was given the hospitality at her hut. So such are the stories, everywhere it is. He is the slave of the love of his lovers. But he is the master, the beloved of his lovers, not the slave of his lovers. He is the beloved of his lovers, whereas he is the slave of the love of his lovers. And then one day, the same thing reminded me of another episode in presence of Baba. So he was saying that we all are one. There is a saying, isn't it, that there is no room for we. We are so one that there is not even we. We can't say we also. It's one. There's something he said. I forget.
Even say one implies that there's a two or something like that. I think.
No, we implies we are one. We can't even. It's not we are one. There is no such thing as we. It's oneness.
Yeah,
He is saying that. There's some saying there.
that's fine.
Yeah.
You and I are not we but one.
But one, not we, but right? Yeah, that's right. So you and I.
You and I
Yeah.
are not we,
We,
but
but one. So one day, some philosopher was sitting here, and he says, "But I can't understand that, Baba, that I and you are one." He says, "Don't say that. Did I say that I and you are one? To tell you to say that to me? It's not that. I and you are not one when you say it. You and I are one. Yeah. When I say it, I will say I and you are one. When you say it, say that, yeah. So he corrected that also. I remember that. We didn't have tape recorders to remember that, but it's there, it's imprinted.
When's it picked up anyway?
Oh, I see. All right. Pick up if you like. Then one day he had given an appointment, some VIP. Yeah, he was a great person. He had come. He had sought an appointment with him for a private interview with Baba. When an appointment is given, naturally the man comes. He came 5 minutes before the time of appointment. VVVVI. He cannot come half an hour or an hour earlier. He must come because he has no time. So he comes, and to his amazement, he's 5 minutes before time, and yet he finds the whole hall is full of people around him. So Baba looks at him and says, "So you have come, eh? Time." He kept the time. Sit down. Baba makes him sit down. And he sits, you see, and Baba is there. As usual, all this chat is going on as we are chatting now. The same words that we are using, his words. Likewise, he's there and all that. It's past 5 minutes past the appointed time. He's looking at the ball. Baba is noticing all this. And he goes on, 10 minutes pass. He's a bit uneasy, He's trying to make his presence felt by Baba. Baba says, "Oh, I gave you an appointment?" He says, "Yes, it's about 12 minutes past that time." He says, "Yeah, but you didn't speak out. You had the appointment. You came 5 minutes before. Yeah, speak out. What?" "But I had asked for a personal interview." "Yeah. What stops you from it? Do you find anybody else here?" "Yeah. If you think there is anybody else over here and you have come to tell me something, then it's not worth telling me. It's not worth telling me because I am like an ordinary man then. What's the sense of your telling me? It won't affect you. You won't be able to tell. But if you think that if you take me to be what I really am, then there is nobody besides me. It's a personal interview." That's how it was. Nothing was said. No.
He didn't say anything.
And the man didn't say anything.
Because there was nothing left to be said then.
That's like the story of that man who came he was being tried for embezzlement or something like that?
That's a different story, brother. No, he was not a VIP. He was an ordinary man. But he did come. No, but he didn't. He was shy in a different way. This person was shy. He being holding such a high position and wanted to say something to Baba personally, take advice or something like that. And it was impossible for him to speak out. You see? Yeah. Now the present president of India had come to Baba also. Sanjeeva Reddy. Yeah. When he was the president of the Congress party, he had come at that time. He was not the president of India then, but he was the president of the Congress.
Where was this, in Pune?
In Pune, yeah.
Did he seek private?
No.
Just-
But Baba gave him a good message, you see. That message that you have, it's better to deny God than to defy Him. It's better to deny God than to defy Him or something like that. There's a message. What is that? Defy. And other messages are those little pithy sentences are there. Different messages. What was I saying? Yeah, that story about that man, embezzlement, is quite different. What had happened is, you want to hear that story? So, this thing is that what had happened, a certain person who was a family man, and he used to come to Baba very often, very frequently. This is also an episode where he not only observed silence of speech, but he was silent of all actions, in all his actions. There's a very glaring story about that, this story that I'm going to tell. So one day, Baba family man, Bhai Balaji,
Yeah, just after this. Yeah, thank you.
so what happened was that he used to come to Baba, this man, with his family. He had his wife and children, and he would come to Baba. One day he comes in a huff, great anxiety and all that, all by himself, and he came to Pune from his place, some miles away, hundreds of miles away. And Baba expressed surprise as usual, always working. As I told you, the most potent instrument was ignorance. Come, why? What happened? And he goes close to Baba and says, Baba, I'm in a fix. I don't know what to do. I've come for your blessings. What happened? Baba says. He says, I'm charged for embezzlement. I'm working, I'm a government employee, and I'm charged for embezzlement, and court will try our case. He says, so what? Have you done anything wrong? He says, no, Baba. Then why are you so afraid? Nothing can touch your hair. Truth will prevail. Why are you so afraid? My nazar is on you. Go. You have not done anything, no? He says, no, I haven't done anything. I am not at all involved, but wrongly I have been involved in embezzlement case, and so I don't know, I am afraid and all that. So why should you be afraid? Not a hair of your head will be touched, you see. Truth will always prevail. And Baba gave him comfort, and he went. Happily he went. Outwardly he felt happy, we saw it. I was there personally. I was interpreting the board, I should say. Then what happened was that after some time we read in the papers, the case was tried and he was imprisoned. And I don't know whether you know Eruch, Eruch was at that time in the stage of observing the God-man. Is he that? What he says, is he so? Is he? Is he? And as soon as I read that, and I informed Baba, so Baba says, what must have happened? Poor fellow, he's in jail now. And who will look after his family? And my observing mind, I said, is he that? He said the truth will prevail, not a hair of your head will be touched, and he is now in prison. 7 years rigorous imprisonment. And I felt really, I had nothing to do with that man or anybody, but whom am I following? Is he the one? Yeah. So that's my reaction was there. But then to him it was a quite different story. He said, who will look after his family now? He doesn't care for him going to the prison at all. Yeah, he's anxious about his family, his wife. He was young, his wife was young, children are young. What about their schooling? What about the house, the government quarters? It will be taken away from him. He's no longer an employee. So where will they go? So he's in search of somebody who can come to his help to find a house for him. You see, that's how he would do. So then he says, will you do something for me? Can you find a house for him there? Go there and just find a house for them. Please settle them there. Will you do that for my love for you? And this and that. And he's there. And then he's in search of somebody who would see to their livelihood. Will you, then somebody, yes, says, I will do. Will you be able to pay him, say, 500 rupees a month, every month? He says, I will do. I'm so happy, I'm so touched by your love. And all this happened, you see, all the time it's just concern for the whole family, except that man. Years are passing by. His wife is writing to him in jail and saying that Baba has made arrangement for a house, Baba is looking after our family, Baba has arranged for our livelihood, our children are going to school regularly, and children have passed this examination and that examination. Years are rolling by. And he writes letters that how blessed I am that you are looking after my family, that without you, where would our family be, and this and that. It goes on. Well, it's natural, isn't it? So that has nothing to do with us. Now see to the Lord's side now. So it goes on. 7 years pass by and he is out of his jail. The first opportunity that he takes is, he can't come to Baba because there are restrictions, you see. He's in seclusion, he's in work, and nobody should disturb him and this and that. He comes to know about the circulars through his wife. Eventually, the first opportunity that arose was the East-West gathering. You have heard of East-West gathering? So, in 1962, he came. And all had come. East and West, gathering of the Eastern and Western. So one day, the Easterners' turn came for coming to Baba. Baba is sitting, and then each one files past. He is leading his family. His wife is behind him, his children are behind. Baba looks at him. He says, are you free? This is the sign for, this is for bondage. This is free. Freedom. Means out of jail. All in silence, mind you. He says, yes, Baba, by your grace I am out now. So of all of, naturally there are thousands of people there. Baba says, come up, come up. So I take him, haul him up to the little raised platform that is there. Then Baba quietly asks him, now is the time to tell the truth. Did you embezzle or not? It's not for him, it's for my mind that he goes out of his way, you see, so that I can hear. So he said, I'm sorry, Baba, I had embezzled. So why did you not say that time? He tweaked his ear. Never do it again. Go. That's the whole drama. Nobody knows this. Now what will you call this? Except I tell this story in order to bring home to you all how in anything that he did was everything in silence. Yeah. He is therefore remembered because of his silence. And as he says, anything and everything happens because of love. Acha bhai, that
Recordings made on September 5th, 1981 ends here. Mandali Hall, Merazad, September 10th, 1981.
prosecutor, public prosecutor. Yeah. He has come from Hamirpur. And now, after Pukar's demise, it's so good that Baba has prompted him, inspired him to get all his lambs, you see, under one fold, and he's the one who is doing that great and responsible job. And he has come here to capture some words and some stories and something. So he has brought the tape recorder there. And so do you want, how will it record? It has to be told. And now what is needed is that you all should let us know about yourselves. I have made you know about myself. And Paul, let us know about yourself. Elizabeth and Victor and others. Can you hear me, Victor?
I can. I cannot see you, but I see you now.
Okay. It's good to have you all here on Thursday today, because we have got a lot of time and we can converse and be free, you see. And of course other days are also such, we can be very free and converse freely. But mind you, on Saturday and Sunday there's going to be a big crowd. Yeah. So at that time we won't be free to just crack jokes and all that stuff. Because we have to be very particular, you see, because there are people who will be coming from different parts of this country, and you know how it is when people from the country are here, same country. We have to behave ourselves. 34 people are coming from Navsari. You heard that. And what do you think? Oh my gosh.
Yes, exactly.
You said that.
But it's only 2 days, right?
Yeah, well, that's right. It's only 2 days.
2 days, 4 days. They're very lively.
Yeah, they are very lively people. They are good people. All who love Baba have to be lively, because Baba always wanted us to be lively. But sometimes we lose moods too. We are in moods. After all, we have our minds and our hearts, ticking. Okay, now let us come to business. Otherwise, there's no end to it. My God, it's already 12 o'clock. Without having said anything about Baba. So, what is your question?
Whereas you have been so in the constant company of God, and we are here just to witness and just to be a witness to the history which you have created with Baba, or he created making you a witness to it. So would you kindly be enlighten us to know the glimpses of some of the history about the avatar?
Well, the historical facts, you see, in chronological order, have been already printed. That he was born on such a date, in such a year, on such a occasion, such month, where and all that. That is there. You don't need that, you mean. You don't mean that now. So, our life with Baba,
We need more
More-
of those incidents which could not come to print.
Yeah, yeah.
And they are confined within you.
okay.
So
Confined within me? By this time, I am totally naked, brother. Because they have been given out. I haven't spared myself, you know. Have I ever spared myself? No, I haven't spared. Year after year, time and again, people have been asking me, and well, whatever comes to my mind, I always share, and I want to share. I don't want to keep back anything. Now, as you said that, well, we were with him and we lived with him. So one day, this might interest you, one day from this very seat, he asked us, he says, you know, you have been living with me, and what do you take me to be? So, well, we had to say that you say that you are the God-man, so we take you to be what you say you are, the God-man. That's right, I am that, he would say that. Yeah. 12 times he says, I am that. Yeah. He says, yeah, I am that. So then he will say that, well, you all have been living with me, and after I pass away, people will ask you the question that you all have been living with the God-man. And what did he say? You all must have talked only about God and all that. So what did he say? What was his, what did he mean by God? What would you say? He is asking us that question. What will you answer them when people will ask you, well, what have you learned about God? What is God? So, well, we started telling him that God means somebody who knows everything, who is everything. So does that mean that I know everything? Does that mean that I'm debarred of not knowing anything? So, no, but you know everything, so how can you be debarred of knowing everything? You must know everything. He says, no, I also ask you questions as if I know nothing. If I am everything, then where is nothing? Where are you all? If I am everything, then there is no place for you all to be. Then what are these nothings, you see, that you are? Where it can be? I am not just everything. I am not just all-knowing. I am not just all-powerful. I am weak too. Otherwise, if I had not been weak, how would I meet with accidents and feel myself disabled and have to limp and all that? So, no amount of our explanations, you see, satisfied him when we said what God is. So he helped us by giving us the definition. He says, people will ask you when I pass away that you all have been talking about God. After all, what is God? What did he say about it? How will you define him? So then he helped us by telling, say, if people ask you, then don't say that he is this, then where is that? You can't limit him by anything. So what is the apt answer to it? So then he told us that if anybody were to ask you, what is God? The only appropriate answer to it is, what is not God? That is the definition of God. anything, everything, somebody, everybody, anything in creation, infinite existence, which includes non-existences also. So that's what he would say. So that's one of the things. The other day, DIG had come over here, Yeah.
Yes.
DIG is from your line, you see. He had come here for darshan, Mr. Samra. He was very happy. He was with us. Only I think last weekend we talked about it, no? Yeah, he was here. So I couldn't get anything out. You see, he needed these little things, so I said that. So to him I said this. What I want you all to know about the history is, I was telling you all how we lived with him was. He was a perfect person. He remained perfectly human with us because he descended on our level. I never had that idea about him being on all levels. He said that I am the highest of the high and I am the lowest of the low and I am in between and everything. But little did I realize that when he comes down to our level, he being the highest of the high, coming down to our level, is not just coming down to the lowest degree, but he has to go below that too, to be on our level. He's so high. Have you seen a person like, say, Bruce, you see, he's a tall person. And if he wants to have a conversation with Coleman, say, on same level. So if Coleman were to sit on the floor and Bruce sits on the floor, even then Coleman would have to look at him like this. So Bruce wouldn't want to embarrass him, so he has to go below the level of Coleman also in order to get to the level of Coleman. You follow what I'm saying? He being the highest of the high, he didn't descend to our level, but he descended to our lowest level in order to be in level with us. And that level was not only the lowest of the low, but lower than the lowest of the low in order to relate to us. Do you follow this figure? Yeah. So that's how it is. So he was the one who came down to our level, and as I told you, the best weapon that he used was total ignorance, as if he did not know anything. He would relate to us in our own language, and although he observed silence, his silence was such that it need not be interpreted or anything of the sort. Even if there were no interpreters in his presence, he would be able to communicate because his silence spoke to the heart. It touched the heart. Yeah. And as I was saying the other day, his silence was not only of speech, but of all actions too. He was totally silent. Although he was intensely active, he remained totally silent in all aspects. All that you see, the attributes of God are infinite love. We saw. Actually, I was a witness to it all. His love was not just ordinary love, as we have the concept of love, but it was divine love. First I thought that it was something extraordinary. Then it superseded the extraordinariness and it became so vast a love that I haven't had any experience of such love, you see. Likewise his charity, likewise his compassion. Everything, anything that passed from him was of his attributes that we noticed. And there are many instances now for that. So what had happened was, my life with him was such that in the beginning when I came to him, it was a pleasant thing to be with some goodly, kindly person, you see, who was loving and lovable too. Yeah. Active. I am strong myself. I need activity. So he harnessed my strength and physical strength into activities. And it was pleasant living with him and moving about and running about and doing this and doing that and all that. And it was fine. As long as on the gross level it was fine. It was nice to pass my time and all that. But then when it came to something other than the gross, then he would say things, you see, which my mind would immediately recoil and say, well, is it so? Is it so? And, well, I had to observe, I had to imbibe, I had to see, I had to feel. And time and again he says, no, what he says is, yeah, it's right, it's like that. So it took many years for me to reconcile the fact. My mind was the one that always obstructed. And it's always with our minds. It's nothing but a picture I'm giving of you all. It's the same thing. Our minds always react. Mind is such a mind. There's no end to it, It always, as soon as the mind begins to believe, it steps into disbelief.
Who is it that believes? The mind? It is not the mind that believes.
It is the mind that believes. It's the mind that disbelieves. We are nothing but puppets of the mind. It's because of the mind we are. Otherwise there is no existence for us. Then who are we, Baba would say, you see. We are nothing but his own blemishes on himself. It may sound to be rather ridiculous and very derogatory for those who consider themselves to be somebody and something, you see. But the truth has to be said now, what he said to us. We are nothing but blemishes, his blemishes on himself. And as the blemishes get worn out gradually, and what is left of when you have a blemish on your shirt and it gets worn out, washed out gradually, what happens? The shirt continues to be as it is. It remains there without the blemish. And that's known as realization of oneself. So what is that? It is totally associated with him. And we are associating as he makes us associate with him. And the relationship between us and him is nothing but of total blemish, his own blemish on himself. As soon as the blemish is cleaned,
Moses. We forgot to look for the word. We were just so delighted to see Baba.
I can tell you something else about Tim Whaley. She mentioned Tim and Diana.
Yes.
Because in our town, or city, Christchurch, is the American Deep Freeze base, Operation Deep Freeze, which is the Antarctic base.
Yes.
So there are at times 1,000 Americans based there, just for a very short time, before they airlift them down into the Antarctic.
Uh-huh.
And this was really connected with Bart Flick. Because Bart was, it was an incredible story how Bart called on. I'll tell you the story because it's so amazing. My wife and I had just you know how in marriages you have little arguments and things. It seemed to me very trivial. But when I came home that Friday night from work, there was a note on the kitchen table saying, "I've taken